My biggest mistake cost me years of my life. For most of my 20s, I was basically a ghost haunting my own bank account. On the surface, I looked like I had it all together. I had a decent job, with a fancy title and a social life that was always buzzing. My social media was a carefully crafted masterpiece of a successful young professional. Fancy cocktails, weekend trips I couldn't really afford, and the latest gadgets bought on credit. I was playing a part, and I was playing it well. But underneath it all, I was in a constant state of low-key panic. Payday was a brief, amazing high. For about 24 hours, I felt rich, and that feeling was my drug. It gave me the green light to spend like there was no tomorrow. A fancy lunch to reward myself, a round of expensive drinks for friends because I felt pressured to be generous, that jacket I saw in an ad. Click, and it was mine. I was chasing a lifestyle I saw online, a life that always seemed just one more purchase away. The truth was, I was running a marathon on a treadmill, sweating and striving, only to end every single month right back at zero. My bank account was the silent witness to this whole act, and the anxiety was a permanent knot in my stomach. The wake-up call wasn't some huge dramatic event, it was just a normal Tuesday afternoon. I was in my favorite overpriced cafe, sipping a latte that cost more than a meal, scrolling on my phone. Then I saw it, a post from an old college friend. He was standing in front of a simple front door, holding a set of keys. The caption said, "It's not much, but it's ours, officially homeowners." It hit me like a ton of bricks. It wasn't really envy. It was this deep, gut punch feeling of being left behind. He hadn't won the lottery or inherited a fortune. He'd just been making different choices. On a painful impulse, I opened my banking app. But this time, I didn't just glance at the low balance. I forced myself to scroll down, and scroll. It was a digital graveyard of my bad decisions. Forgotten subscriptions to services I never used. Dozens of food delivery orders, late fees, like little red flags of failure. It was all there, a black and white record of my own self-sabotage. And in that moment, in that trendy cafe, the illusion of my life shattered. The problem wasn't how much I earned. The problem was me. I wasn't a successful professional. I was just a broke man in a nice suit. That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of my friend's keys and my endless list of dumb purchases just kept replaying in my head. At 2 in the morning, I got up, printed out 3 months of bank and credit card statements, grabbed a red highlighter, and sat on the floor. I started circling every single non-essential purchase. The page started to look like a crime scene. It was humiliating, but it was also incredibly liberating. For the first time, I was facing the raw truth. This wasn't about punishing myself, it was about figuring out what was wrong. I had to understand the disease before I could find the cure. The very next day, I made my first real budget. I used the 50-30-20 rule as a starting point. 50% of my income for needs like rent and groceries, 30% for wants, and a non-negotiable 20% for savings and paying off debt. Seeing how small that wants category was, compared to what I'd been spending, was a brutal wake-up call. Those first few weeks were a constant battle. My old habits were screaming for attention. The urge to order a pizza after a long day was a physical craving. The desire to buy a new video game to relax felt like a necessity, but I found a new trick. Every time I resisted an impulse purchase, I immediately transferred the exact amount I would have spent into a new savings account I called the future. Watching that account grow, even by the $20 I didn't spend on pizza, became a new, more powerful dopamine hit. It was a game, and for the first time, I was actually winning. Now, there was this one credit card. It had about a $2,000 balance, and it had been haunting me for over a year. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was a constant symbol of my failure. It was the ghost of a vacation I couldn't afford and ATV I didn't need. With my new budget, I decided to attack it using the snowball method. I listed all my debts, and this one, being the smallest, became my #1 enemy. I kept making the minimum payments on my student loans, but every single extra dollar I could find was thrown at this credit card. I became a frugal warrior. I canceled 3 streaming services. I learned to cook 5 simple, cheap meals. I started saying no to expensive nights out, suggesting a walk in the park or a movie night at home instead. It took for tough months, I will never forget the day I made the final payment. I logged into my online banking, my heart was pounding. I transferred the last $157.68. I clicked confirm, and then, silence, this incredible sense of peace washed over me. A weight I didn't even realize I was carrying was just gone. It was more satisfying than any gadget, any vacation, any fancy meal I had ever bought. It was the first real, tangible proof that this new way of life was working. I wasn't a victim of my finances anymore. I was the one in control. With that credit card debt gone, I had a taste of victory, and I was hungry for more. I took that momentum and all the money that was no longer going to the credit card company and channeled it into a new mission, building an emergency fund. My goal was to save 3 months of essential living expenses, which seemed like an impossibly huge mountain to climb at the time. But I just kept going, automating the transfers every payday, celebrating every $100 milestone like it was a major victory. About 6 months later, life happened. I was driving home late on a rainy night, and I hit a massive pothole. The sound was sickening. Flat tire. In the past, this would have been a catastrophe. It would have meant a panicked swipe of a credit card, resetting my entire cycle of debt and shame. I would have been furious at my bad luck. But this time was different. It was just an inconvenience. Annoying. Yes, but not a crisis. I paid for the new tire with my emergency fund, and the next month, I just focused on topping that fund back up. That moment was a quiet, powerful revelation. I had built myself a safety net. For the first time in my adult life, an unexpected expense didn't send me into a spiral of panic. It was a feeling of security, a feeling of true adulthood I had never known. The final frontier, the last beast I had to slay, was investing. It terrified me. The stock market seemed like this complex, dangerous casino designed to take money from people like me. But the more I read and learned, the more I came back to one simple truth. The biggest risk, in the long run, was not investing at all. It was letting my money just sit in a savings account, slowly getting eaten away by inflation. So, I did it. I chose a reputable, low-cost brokerage and opened an account. The process took less than 20 minutes. But then I just stared at the transfer funds button for a whole day. All my old anxieties, all the voices of doubt, came creeping back. What if you lose it all? You don't know what you're doing. Then, I thought about my friend with his new apartment. I thought about the feeling of paying off my credit card. I thought about the peace of mind my emergency fund gave me. I took a deep breath, and I invested a small, almost laughable amount, just $100, into a simple, low-cost S&P 500 index fund. It wasn't about getting rich overnight. It was about breaking that final mental barrier. It was about becoming an owner, not just a consumer. My journey is far from over. There are still days I struggle with old habits, but now, when I look at my finances, I don't see a source of anxiety and shame. I see a tool. I see the result of thousands of small, conscious decisions. I see a future that I am actively, intentionally building, $1, one day at a time. That first $100 investment opened up my appetite for risk. I started investing regularly, building a solid portfolio of stocks, ETFs, bonds, and even some Bitcoin. Today, I have no financial worries. I hope my story will motivate you too. I paid for my mistakes with a few years of my life. You don't have to. That's why I created this channel. A quick reminder, this channel is for education and sharing experiences. It's not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more content.